Joining us now, Senator Ron Johnson from Senate Homeland Security. Sir, it's great to have you back on, Senator. Can we get your reaction to this? The president today suggesting to the 82nd Airborne in Poland that, yes, they will be going into Ukraine. We've got a soundbite of this. This is another gaffe. Let's listen to it first. Watch this.
Ukrainian people have a lot of backbone. They have a lot of guts, and I'm sure you're observing it. And I don't mean just the military. And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people standing in the middle in front of a damn tank, just saying, I'm not leaving. I'm holding my ground.
Okay, that's another mistake. The White House saying he was basically cleaning that up, saying that's not happening. What's your reaction, Senator?
Listen, I take no joy in saying this, but President Biden is showing the results of age. He's in decline. I said before the election that he was unfit for office, based on his showing of age, but also based on the vast web of financial entanglements he and his son had throughout the world that compromised him, as Tony Bobulinski said. So again, we're in a world of hurt here. We have a president of the United States that his policies have weakened America. He's not in a position himself, physically or mentally, to lead this nation during such a crisis. He's doubling down on his disastrous policies. He's talking about his green energy providing resilience. It's done the exact opposite. It's making us less resilient in terms of our energy security.
Senator, how did the president's business dealings, and Hunter Biden's business dealings, the president in Hunter Biden's laptop emails reportedly was going to get a cut of 10% with a deal in China, also deal making in Ukraine and Russia as well. How is that affecting geopolitical strategy now?
We really don't know. The reason Chuck Grassley and I investigated this is we were certainly concerned prior to the election. We thought the American people ought to know about how compromised President Biden might be as president. I don't know all the details of his vast web of financial entanglements, but I'll tell you who does know: Russian intelligence, Chinese intelligence, probably Iranian and North Korean intelligence. And so we don't know how that has affected his performance in office, and emails are surfacing every day that is revealing more and more of these very troubling entanglements.
Senator, the Congress has been doing infrastructure spending. We know that. The LNG terminals the White House is talking about now to export U.S. nat gas into the EU. There's not enough LNG terminals here and in Europe for the White House to do this. It would take up to 5 years, 2 to 5 years, to ramp that up. And this is more of how the far left is hurting U.S. national security as, Putin is living the high life. He's getting $1 billion a day in revenues from the EU for oil and gas.
And Democrats have engaged in a war on fossil fuel. Take a look at some of the nominees. We just defeated one, the Federal Reserve, that basically wanted to bankrupt the oil and gas industry, wanted to deny them any capital. This is what they want to do. But we see how vulnerable we are based on this green energy fantasy of the Democrat and the far left. Take a look at what happened in Texas. Cold weather snap, and we were fortunate to get that grid up and operational before some real serious harm was caused to it. So, we have to accept reality. We're going to be a fossil fuel-based global economy for decades to come. I'm all for an all-of-the-above energy policy, but the market has to dictate how and when that all occurs. You can't force it. It's not worth spending hundreds of billions of dollars on these boondoggles and on these fantasies. It's reducing our resiliency. It's increasing our vulnerability. And, the war in Ukraine is just one symptom of that.
There's also there's this debate about, what communism really is about, Senator. I know you've been forceful about this, too. We have had a far left activist part of the country pushing on the U.S. to change the nature of the Constitution and the nature of how this country is run. But when you look at Putin, he's got this rich, luxurious lifestyle. He's got yachts, mansions, planes, helicopters, and more. I mean, isn't this a true story of communism? We see this in China, Cuba, and Venezuela. I mean, it's how they plunder from their people and live the high life.
That is always the result of a totalitarian, socialist, communist type of system. The Democrat Party has become the party of the elite, of the technocrat, of the big tech social media giant billionaires. That is just the fact. We are seeing a remaking of American politics from my standpoint. The Republican Party, the Conservative Party, we are the ones that really represent the middle class, the working men and women of America that make this country great. It's the Democrats that represent the elite, them and their complicit allies in the media.
You know, there's two. Getting back to Hunter Biden, there's this poll from the Trafalgar Group says most Americans believe that the president does have a conflict of interest in Ukraine due to his family's business dealings there. A majority, 56%, yes, said there is a conflict of interest in what's going on with this war. But it's hard to figure out and disentangle what those conflicts are and how it's affecting policy there.
I would direct your readers to an excellent article written by John Solomon and his journalistic partner, where they just lay out the entanglements of the Clintons, the Obamas, and the Bidens, how they've done deals with Russia and Russian oligarchs, putting billions of dollars worth of value in Russia's pocket for millions of dollars into their foundations. It's a very interesting piece. It starts laying this out in pretty stark detail. But again, it's very difficult to disentangle all these entanglements. But John Solomon does a really good job in his article. I'd refer all of your listeners to read that.
Okay, well, take a look. That'll be weekend reading. Senator Ron Johnson, thank you so much. Have a good weekend. It's good to see you, sir. Come back soon.